Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Now there's a lot of reasons to like and support Donald Trump as a politician, and of course the way the left frames this relationship is that it's just deeply selfish or racist people that want to vote for Donald Trump for their own interest. They want to lower their taxes because they're rich and they're greedy, or they want to send the country back to a more racist state, creating an environment and culture that's mostly beneficial to white people. They claim to know what your priorities are, who you are, and what you're voting for, and why you like Trump. And they always frame it, frankly, in the most vile and sick manner. But what they're saying, of course, isn't true. People don't support Trump for such shallow reasons. People support Trump because he's the only politician in their lifetime to take many of the nation's most important issues actually seriously. The most important reason that I keep hearing over and over again why people support Donald Trump is because he's receptive. He listens and pays attention. His ideas and stances are never static. He doesn't dig his heels into the ground, acting like a Democrat cultist who just supports the party talking point no matter what. No, Trump is a normal, honest human being like anybody else, and when you show him something that's relevant and important, it actually lands and he actually does something about it. And that right there, that character virtue, well, nowadays it's become almost non-existent in the world of Washington, and so Trump, of course, is a special product. He's a once-in-a-lifetime politician, and he proves it once again on Dr. Phil's show. Dr. Phil red pills Donald Trump on a very important issue, and this right here, this is the reason, in my view, Trump's the best president, because he's actually willing to have these conversations. Meanwhile, the Democrats would never even put themselves in a position to be presented with this kind of information or challenged on these kinds of issues. Let me show you guys exactly what I mean by that. I got an absolutely amazing Dr. Phil segment to show you. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so I think I laid the groundwork in the intro quite well. I tried my best. Now just take a look at this clip.
And look at this map that I did a show about this. The red is where Chinese government has funded buying major farmland.
Yeah.
And then superimposed on that are some of our most strategic military bases. Yeah. And you can see there's Dugway Proving Ground. That's military equipment, biological, chemical weapons. They're surrounding it. Utah Test Training Range, the largest supersonic authorized restricted airspace in the United States. Whiteman Air Force Base, B-2 Spirit Stealth Bomber Base, missile drone operations, MQ-9 Reaper, Global Strike Command 3, Fort Liberty, Airborne Special Operations Forces, Rapid Deployment. We've allowed them to come in and buy up agricultural land, wind farms, no wind, no blades on some of the towers, but they're surrounding our military bases. Right. We've allowed that to take place.
Finally, this topic of conversation comes to the forefront. Dr. Phil shows Trump a map highlighting Chinese purchases of lands that all just happen to land near strategic military bases inside the United States. I think everyone's probably asking themselves a very similar question. How could this possibly be allowed to happen? What it looks like is the selling off of the nation. I mean, just look at the proximity of these purchases to sensitive military sites. Don't you think that raises concerns relating to espionage, surveillance, and potential sabotage? You know, we're just willy-nilly allowing a foreign adversary like China to own land near critical defense infrastructure where they could gather intelligence on military operations, track troop movements, and potentially interfere with communications, undermining U.S. military readiness? I don't know, seems kind of concerning to me, but I've never seen a left-winger take this concern seriously. In fact, we already know the current president's stance on this issue.
China is going to eat our lunch? Come on, man. They can't even figure out how to deal with the fact that they have this great division between the China Sea and the mountains in the east, in the west. They can't figure out how they're going to deal with the corruption that exists within the system. They're not bad folks, but guess what? They're not competition for us.
There is only one politician, and really I think I do Trump a disservice when I call him a politician, but the simple fact is he is a politician. But let's change it up. There's only one leader who's had a history of receptiveness to such threats, and that's what sets Donald Trump apart as a strong defender of American sovereignty. Unlike Democrats, who are often criticized for their lenient stance on China. Frankly, Democrats seem to be China's biggest defenders. When Donald Trump levies a tariff on Chinese goods, what do the Democrats call it? They call it a tax on American consumers. Oh, it's going to hurt American consumers. You know, maybe in the short run, if you're doing the non-patriotic thing and you're just looking for cheap crap from China to save a buck in the short term, where eventually you're going to end up losing money because you're going to have to end up repurchasing the product 17 times throughout your lifetime. But in the long term, it's not a tax on consumers. It's called keeping the money circulating within your own nation and nation's people. The Democrats at every point in turn have a soft approach on China, or frankly, they seem to act like lawyers for the regime. Meanwhile, Trump has consistently taken a hard-line approach. His administration on day one recognized the geopolitical threat posed by China's growing influence, and not just economically, but also in terms of espionage. The simple fact is, Trump actually takes these concerns and issues seriously, and I'd argue these are serious concerns that the American people have. Meanwhile, the Democrats don't. The Democrats are more focused on a woke and inclusive military. They're more focused on gathering headline virtue signaling points than they are on protecting the nation. Meanwhile,
are you going to fire those generals? The woke generals at the top? Because people have been talking
Yes,
about it.
I would get rid of them, yeah. But see, now I know him. I didn't know him before. I came in, what do I know? I was a New York real estate person, but no, I'd fire them. I would fire them. You can't have woke military.
Donald Trump is promising on day one to fire every woke military general and to restore sanity within the service. It's really very simple. Democrats represent the globalist establishment, and Trump's the one fighting for reform. Trump's the one who gets it. And you know, people have criticized Trump in the past saying he doesn't get it. He's simply been co-opted. Look at his first term. He surrounded himself with a bunch of deep status actors. Often people will point the finger at John Bolton, which of course in retrospect, I mean, looking back, 2020 hindsight, absolutely Trump had some bad hires. He had some bad people around him. But again, let's focus on the term that I used earlier, receptiveness. Even if that's the case, even if Trump has made some mistakes, again, he proves that he is malleable. He's willing to change. He's dynamic. And most importantly, he understands.
But I didn't know anybody in Washington. And I had to rely on people to give me names. And many were really good. I mean, Bob Lighthizer, I had great trade people. I had some great people. But I also picked people that, in retrospect, I wouldn't have picked. But now I know the smart ones, the dumb ones, the weak ones, the solid ones, the ones like you. I know the people. I know everybody, sort of like everybody. And we're going to have a great government. I didn't know. I had to rely on people I'd ask, I don't want to use names because I don't want to embarrass, they're not bad people, but I'd ask people that were rhinos, who do you recommend for such and such a position? All important positions. And they'd recommend some people that were rhinos or something, or weak or not good.
He gets it. I mean, when have you seen that with a Democrat politician, and even most Republicans? Most politicians in general. They never apologize for doing something wrong or admit that they did something incorrectly and then correct course. Well, I mean, sometimes they do, but only after a very, very long period of denial, and only when it becomes a political liability. This issue wasn't necessarily a political liability for Trump. He's pulling at all-time highs. He's not in a desperate position to have to do 180s on his previous policy stances or decisions, but he's doing it anyway. He's receptive. Again, this has been Trump's greatest strength in my view. The fact that he listens, to a certain extent. It also can be a weakness when you're listening to the wrong people, but once you figure that out, once you figure out what the mandate is and what people actually want, and you've surrounded yourself with effective allies, well then it's absolutely unequivocally a pure strength. What it really is intellectual honesty, an open mind. Democrats don't have this. It's their way or the highway. It's the globalist new utopia vision at any and all cost. Meanwhile, Trump is looking at the nuance of it all. He's looking at the details and making precise change. And that right there, those are signs of leadership. Dancing around on stage with Megan Thee Stallion, doing ridiculous little cooking vlogs with various celebrities does not signal leadership. It signals establishment puppet. It's obvious who cares and who's listening and who's just doing the system's bidding. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.